Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Stephanie Betti, Senior Vice President of Innovation Design, and Russ Gowda, Innovation Community Manager at US Bank.
Hello, thank you. I'm wondering how many of you are now going to be reading your books since you've got them signed. Let me know how it goes. I'm dying to dig into that. In fact, I may need to go and find him so I can get mine signed. But thank you for at least coming back and not just going to a coffee shop and reading. It's great. We are super excited to talk about our story of innovation at US Bank today, so I appreciate you hanging with us here. At US Bank, we fuel the innovation culture. We really focus on how we spread innovation throughout our organization. This is our 10-year anniversary as an innovation team at US Bank. I actually started out in design at US Bank, and so I kind of feel like I have a little angel on my back because I survived designing with a bunch of developers only to move into innovation and have to face that. But it's still there, it's still working, we're okay. As we look at innovation, it really started with 2 or 3 folks, my boss, the Chief Innovation Officer, and a couple of others in the payments organization. And it was a very small, select group focused on stuff that was incubated, and not a lot of people in the company really knew about it until all of a sudden there was a press release, excitement about something that they had done that would go out. So as we scaled up, we are now 34 strong. As we scaled up, the reality came, well, we can't just keep it in a closet anymore. We got to bring it out into the open, and we got to make sure that our employees and our organization at large knows about it. So that is one reason why our group that we're going to tell you about today exists. So as we look at innovation and how US Bank has thought about innovation, I'm sure all of you here have seen the McKinsey Horizons. We thought a lot about how we sort of stage the work that we're doing with the businesses. So not everyone's ready to go, start talking about blockchain. Not everyone's ready to think about the next new thing, but a lot of it is sort of bringing them along. So each time we engage, each time we have an event or we have a program started, we kind of look to see where the business is at that point in time and how ready they are for the type of innovation we may want to focus on. For us in innovation, it can't really begin unless we really have a focus on the customer. For many years, we focused, try to be a customer-centric organization, and we really worked a lot to bring the customer's viewpoint into how our product managers and how our bankers look at serving the customer, as well as how they think about designing their products. Well, as we got into kind of broadening out innovation, we also realized that empathy was a really important part of that, and understanding the journey of the customer and some of the barriers to the things that they experience. So as we were looking at ways to do it, we really started to focus on customer journeys, and we thought about how we could bring our business partners into that journey to really help them grow empathy. From there, I think, maybe I hit the wrong one. That's not me. Next one. Okay, here we go. From there, we brought it out into being actual physical workshops. So the base of our innovation group uses design thinking. And so as we wanted to sort of bring the customer journey into some sort of reality and in solving with our partners, we started to do co-creation sessions where we actually bring product or technology or compliance, whoever really needs to be there, in with real customers as we design some of the solutions to the problems they experience. So the innovation team at large, kind of grew from 3 people in a closet. We have a little bit more complexity and a little bit more focused areas. So we've got a research and development group. They're out there, they're exploring, the emerging trends and trying to keep ahead and trying to do some piloting and testing to help the bank get prepared for things that might be in the future or may impact us in the future. They're a way to bring the businesses up to speed on potential threats, potential opportunities, kind of do some education as well as some test and learn with them as they explore the new opportunities as well. Innovation design, which is the group that Russ and I are part of, we really focus on the education and the training. We're that front end, so a lot of times all of the programs that we're running are discovering the problems and the opportunities that our customers have presented to us. So we, have things from Shark Tanks to hackathons that we'll kind of talk about today, with the purpose of generating ways to get at new ideas and insights. Product development, we have a standard product development team that really focus on taking things that either come out of a program that we've run or something with R&D and work on taking that from pilot into commercial. And then we have project management, and I always say that the project management team really keeps us out of jail in a bank. Right, so they make sure we're compliant, they make sure that we've checked all the boxes that we need to do and sort of help us navigate, because a lot of times it's the scale of which we're navigating that's different. And so they are a specialized team that really help us. And then the legacy from our payments organization. We do have a group, 3 or 4 people who are just focused on emerging technology and digital payments. And they helped us kind of keep building that strength that we've had for a while and bringing that into other parts of our organization too. So this is our team directly. This is the innovation design team. None of you really have seen this slide. This was some interns this summer who were really tired of the traditional org chart. And so I had to put it in there, although it may or may not have been compliance approved. But with that, to give you a sense of who we are and what we do, I have a user experience. I'm a design thinker in background. We have Sage, who's come on, and he's actually running our Innovator in Residence program, but is also our user experience strategist. We have Dave, that's one of our program managers. So if you think of some of the hackathons and events, we kind of look at those as programs. He runs some of those with us, as does Carrie. And Valerie is our chief educator. She's the one who does all the innovation advocate training and things that go deeper as far as training employees on innovation methodologies. And then, of course, there's Russ, our community manager, who now is an award winner today, right? Very exciting. Gonna have to get him a new desk for sure. So let's think about innovation, just to give you an idea. So I've been with the innovation team now about 5 years. And for 4 years, we've really been focused on how we expand across the company and get that innovation culture moving. So since then, we've engaged about 8,900 employees in our events. So whether that's a Shark Tank, we do product days, whatever it is, we've been able to get that reach. We've had 1,500 customers come and join us for some sort of co-creation or some sort of event where we've engaged them in helping us think of new things, or just letting them think of new things and us watching and learning. And then we've had 5,000 employees participate in pilots. And this is important. I don't know how many of you, maybe you can give me a raise of hand, actually test your own stuff on employees before you go out to customers, right? Yeah. It's a great way to know what sucks, right? Because your employees, they have this ownership of their customer with you, right? So they're not afraid to tell you of all the things, plus the 10 things you didn't think about. So it's a really fast way to kind of iterate. And they also then get really excited about the future of that pilot because they become champions for it, right? They've tried it, they've tasted it, and then they want to see what happens next. So we have 3 main tenets as we look at innovation design and what our objectives are for really building that innovation culture within the bank. So we look at it as engage, right? We want the employees to feel innovation. It's not enough for me to give them an article about a team that's gone out and done something. It's not enough for them to see a press release. We want them to engage and actually do it. So all the programs we have are hands-on where we can, or we'll send something out and have them do hands-on something in their own space. Educate. We want everything that's in our toolkit to be in their toolkit. So where we can share best practices or templates or models that help them understand what they need to do when they're going to go out and interview a customer or when they're going to prototype. All of that is part of the innovation education packet, and we actually put those resources out on our intranet so that employees, as they're looking to do something new, can go out there and investigate something that might help them. And then there's the energize, right? Get them excited. We want them to understand they are part of an innovative organization. We want them to know that the bank cares about their ideas and that we want to see what they've learned, what they think, and we want to hear from them. So we really add a lot of excitement and energy. As you can imagine, I don't know about your company, but my company, it's a lot of cubes, right? And people are sitting and they're usually on a phone call for a very long time in their day. So the very first thing we try to do is pull them out of those cubes and get them in a place together where it feels different so they can act different and we can get different ideas out of them. So a lot of it is around the energy. There's parts of me that sometimes feels like innovations become kind of a heavy word too for employees, and I'd like to emphasize more for them in a lot of ways is how do we get them to feel creative and get them thinking different and more confident in applying that. So talking about our programs, I brought a few to highlight here of ways that we've engaged our employees, which really leads up to the community work that Russ has been doing. The very first program we started when we said, okay, we got to go out and talk to everyone, what are we going to do? We started with this idea of seeding the culture with new ideas. And so we created this in-queue program. It happens monthly, and it's usually highlighting a trend or a new technology or, some challenge where the employees can come, they can listen in, and they can participate in a conversation around this new thing. Our hope with this program, and it's worked, is to sort of seed them, get them thinking about something new or different and how they might use that or how it could help their business. And we've kind of used it as a way to seed interest in future partnerships for pilots we may want to do. And that's been very helpful because they can kind of learn in a safe manner and then reach out to us afterwards and then re-engage them in the next steps that we might go forward with a pilot. We've also started a blog which carries through some of the ideas that we talk about from the monthly meetings, as well as a series that is tips and techniques. And a lot of that is bringing up some of that educate and curriculum that I shared before. These are now little 30-minute snack size events where we talk about, customer journey templates and how to use them, how to go out and watch trends and observe trends, that kind of thing. Hackathon. So we just finished a hackathon this weekend here in San Francisco. We partnered with AARP and IBM to do something at Galvanize. And we love doing external hackathons in this area because one of the most amazing things about the hackathons here is one, I think to Eric's point earlier, people here work differently. They have a startup mentality that is different than my internal developers. But they bring a lot of different insight to even just how they solve customer problems. So this one was around solving financial fraud for elders. Great solutions, and we had at least 3 teams of 12 and 14-year-olds that came to participate, which I don't know, maybe that's common here. It's not common where I'm from, and I was worried about them all night long, but they did it. But we really started our hackathon approach with our internal employees. And the purpose of that was to give them a way to learn how to do APIs. We were starting to have an API portal created. We were needing to get more of our APIs out of there, but we found that our employees hadn't reached that, right? They hadn't been trained on APIs, they weren't sure, and they weren't confident. So we used our internal hackathons as a way to give them that confidence. We kind of did part training, part hack as is the competition, and it really helped us not only grow our APIs within the bank, but also help grow the talent that we needed to. The first external hackathon we did, we got a little extra confident last year when we were doing the internal ones, and so we did one with MasterCard here as well. Again, really good insights for us, and now we're starting to think about, well, as we have these external ones, we want to bring some of those top developers who are really engaged in our internal hackathons and sort of incent them to come to these external ones we do so that they can kind of get a new way of thinking too, because we find it really helpful and we think that they would as well. So just to kind of summarize our hackathons, we've had 150 employees come through our hackathon programs. As you can see through the folks in the green shirt, you can't have a hackathon without a cool t-shirt. That's the first requirement. So they really do come for the t-shirts. And so they have their t-shirts on, but they also, this is a group of developers who didn't know each other until they came to the hackathon. And they learned that they had different skills and talents that complemented each other. They made their own marketing, which was kind of fun too. And so this was their team photo. And here's one of our other events where we're just working around tables. And this is the thing for developers, and kind of going back to our employees at large. that cube mentality where I've got to sit and watch my screen and sit on a conference call is it just kills you, right? Eventually, that's all you do. That's all you're thinking about. So we only allow their laptops if they're doing the coding. Otherwise, they don't get to check in on email or anything for when they're with us because we want that focus. And very often they feel like, they call it a vacation or they call it inspiring and, I'm ready to go back and dig into my work differently. So it's a great output for us. So we've had 150 go through. We've had 10, although now, over the weekend, we did one more, so we're up to 11, and we have 9 ideas that have been pursued as an outcome from the hackathon. So going well for us. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So co-creation. This is, as a design thinker junkie, I love co-creation, right? So we bring in customers. We have walls and walls of Post-it notes and markers. It's awesome. But we bring the customers in with our product people. So as you think about customer journeys, and I think somebody earlier mentioned getting to empathy, our product people, when we would go through and do the design research and bring them the report back, we'd be telling them, and they'd kind of be skeptical, like, yeah, well, our customers aren't that smart, or, they would tell you stuff, right? Because they were one step removed and feeling a little defensive. But if you put product people in with the customer and they're working together to come up with a solution or to come up with that new idea, it's a whole different ballgame because that customer could just sit and cut their product apart with scissors, and the product people listen in a whole different way because when somebody's across from you and you're really listening to what they're saying, it sort of changes your opinion and you learn from that. So we have found this to be a great way not only to get new ideas and new concepts in, but it also has helped us in working with our product people either for future pilots or for future things that we want to test and learn with them because they've had this experience. They're a little bit more open to some of our other methodologies. And then our other program, which is actually based off of a lot of the lean startup work that Eric did, we call it Innovator in Residence. I may have to change that now after hearing him today. But it's our way to get to entrepreneurs, right, and really build up that entrepreneur mindset within the company. We take an innovator from the line of business within our company, really anyone within the organization that management says they can come. We try to get high-performing individuals. They come to us with an idea, a challenge, or a problem that they want to solve for their organization. They embed themselves in our team, in our floor, for 6 weeks, and they actually leave their day job. They don't do their day job. They stay with us for 6 weeks, and we take them through a lean startup cycle. So every week they're doing something different. Actually, every day they're doing something different. About day 4, when you tell them they have to go out and do interviews, you see their face kind of turn white and they get all sweaty, like, what? Because, of course, in bank, usually when we're interacting with customers, there's a screen between us, and really just going up to people that you're identifying to interview for your particular problem is new to them. So we find that there's a lot of personal growth. We find that people come out as really passionate product managers from this program, and very often we have new ideas. We are on our fourth cohort. It's actually going on right now. And what's interesting is when we first started out, we actually did a 12-week model and found that really 6 weeks is the sweet spot because of how they work through the problem. And then from our standpoint, from the next part to know what we're going to do with the idea, are we going to test it, are we going to pilot it, the innovation team then partners with them and they kind of go back to their J job. Sometimes it's part-time, sometimes it's quarter-time. It just depends on what the idea and the opportunity is. So thinking about all of our programs and how to really impact the organization with innovation, we're always looking for what's new. We look at our programs as fluid. We're always trying to improve, trying to change. And one of the things that we realized is that we didn't really have one place at one time that employees could come to just to talk about innovation, just to see what other people are thinking and to weigh in on what other people are thinking. We had a previous instance of Bright Idea, and it was used for very specific purposes. And we started to think about, well, what if we had innovation community manager, Russ, and we really changed our strategy around our program with this idea that we're kind of reaching different types of employees and more expansive within the organization. And I'm going to let Russ tell you that story.
Thank you. working?
The green.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Oh, there we go. All right. So the theme of this presentation was standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's kind of the story I'm going to tell today on the journey that, since I was hired to where we are today, the journey to get there. So the opportunity in the beginning was really to provide all US Bank employees to provide input on how to cultivate and grow the company. So as Stephanie mentioned, we have a lot of different programs that we offer to employees. We typically work with business line leaders. They're easier to reach and get able to get to some of our events. But obviously, for a company our size with 73,000 employees, it's really hard to reach everybody. And there's a wealth of knowledge that's missing and can provide tremendous amount of value when we do take ideas to market. So that was really the opportunity and the gap that we were trying to capitalize on. And then from an organizational culture perspective, we have the perfect environment and timing for us to launch our innovation community, because from the grassroots, the bottom up, according to our all-employee survey, right, employees are keen on learning and development and the future of the company. That comes up over and over, year over year. And then from the top down, similar to what the individual from Lockheed said, we have a lot of councils that meet typically senior leaders to think through some of the needs that they have in the business line, as well as to rationalize opportunities that they want to pursue. So we have a council structure, and we have a variety of them to address different topics. So the solution was to really scale and instill innovation or agile or lean practices so that's decentralized and sustainable across the company. So when I say innovation, agile, lean, right, I mean engaging in rapid and iterative solving around problems. And then decentralized, right, we don't want just to be a black box or a skunk works where only 35 of us are working on innovation. We want everybody else to participate and provide value as well. So, and then when I say sustainable, a lot of the programs, right, they're very logistically heavy, right? They take a lot of resources and they're in person. A lot of time to set up. So the innovation community, the Bright Idea platform, would provide a digital access point for all employees to engage for innovation-related activities. So to date, since I joined, we ran 18 initiatives. Kind of funny story, when we first kicked off our meeting to launch the platform, it was, they recommended us to run 4 challenges a year, right? And then Steph's like, no, let's kick it up a notch, right? Let's do 8. And then we're at 18. So, just... and I'll really show you guys like how we got here and how we were able to achieve these numbers. And it's really, as Eric mentioned, it's the lean methodology, the test and learn approach. Get those quick wins, get those quick learnings, fail fast, fail early, like everyone keeps saying. So for the first 6 months, here's a bit of a timeline. Kind of the typical innovation journey. You're gonna fail, stumble a lot, but that's okay. You just gotta keep going, and eventually you'll get there. So, one of the biggest things I realize is business development is a big part of your job. So, leverage your immediate network to really make those introductions, to run the challenges or get adoption onto the Bright Idea platform. And then each of your sponsors that you're going to pitch to, and hopefully they convert into those sponsors, right? They're going to see a different type of value based on their goals and objectives, right? So you're going to want to cater your pitch, when you pitch the community or the platform to them to meet their needs. And then the last thing here, when you're getting started, right? Think like a startup. Employees are your customers, right? The Bright Idea platform is your product or service. So start small. What does a MVP or a pilot look like? Get those learnings in quick. So for the first 6 months, really didn't get a big win, I guess, until we had one of our sustainable process solutions sponsors engage with us and really drive the adoption. That's really what started us going. But as you could see, there's been, prior to that, projects that I, proposed, like Shark Tank, right? They got killed. We want to do something with the interns, and then they were like, oh no, we're scaling, too quick, so we don't want to introduce something this complicated, right? You're gonna get a lot of that, but understanding that and pivoting and adapting as necessary is really important. So then the past 6 months here, right? So test and learn. So run a variety of smaller challenges, and the award we got today was using 7 out of the 9 apps. For me, and I think the team and the company as well, right? A win is a win, no matter how small it is. There's some challenges that have run with 12 people, right? And still have yielded effective results. So the next one here is find an influencer who will run multiple challenges, right? Get that repeat customer as quick as you can. As soon as they, finish a challenge, get them thinking about that next one. And this is really how you're gonna start building those communities. And then the last one, don't underestimate the power of sharing success stories. And this is a learning which I wish I had when I first started, and is gonna be our focus for 2018, really communicating internally about the activity that's going on, because that'll really drive your engagement numbers. So going back to our growth strategy, we have 3 different pillars. The first one is most trusted choice, better every day, and then unified customer experience. So I'm going to take you through how the innovation community and the Bright Idea platform fits in with these 3 pillars for growth. So the first one is better every day. So we continually look for opportunities to fuel effectiveness and strengthen our company. So if you know anything about banking, one of the performance metrics that's always measured, and one that's brought up in a lot of different meetings and shareholder meetings, et cetera, is our efficiency ratio, right? It's best in class compared to our peers. And leveraging things like that, which really influence our culture internally, right? Understanding culture is pretty much what all these slides are going to be about, really understanding a culture, because maybe, a certain app might not fit in with your culture. So, you really want to find that right product market fit, if you will. So yeah, so some of our most successful initiatives are actually based on, operationally efficient, initiatives, those sustainable process solutions, continuous improvement type deals, where you have metrics already in place that can be measured. They're already doing it. And my ask to the sponsors was, continue doing what you're already doing, just use Bright Idea as a platform to achieve that end goal. Because it's going to provide you a better experience, better value, whether it's efficiency, productivity, et cetera. So the next one is most trusted choice, which is we provide stability and security through responsibility, ethics, and discipline. So the one thing I love about the Bright Idea platform is that there's a great deal of customization, which can be governed and audited. So being a bank, we have to deal with risk, compliance, audit, day in, day out. There's kind of no avoiding that. So instead of working, around them or against them, you might as well work with them, bring them to the table, in the beginning. So when we set up these, back-end workflows, right, in this pipeline view here, everyone knows what they're responsible for, where ideas are going next, and the process is defined, which resonates very well with our culture. So that transparency is really important. Then the last one here is unified customer experience. So when I'm talking about customer here, this is our internal customers, our employees, because they're going to be the ones that are engaging on the platform. So bringing our whole bank to the customer through comprehensive knowledge that drives deeper relationships. So as you can see on the right here, I read this article once that said innovation equals invention plus commercialization. Commercialization could also, be synonymous to execution or outputs in this case. So we're, as a corporation, I think corporations excel in execution, as Eric mentioned, right? And these are a lot of the different ways that we execute in the bank. So I kind of started backwards, right? So I started with what we're really good at, and leverage those proficiencies and migrated them over to the Bright Idea platform. And the pitch really was these value propositions, as you see on the left, right? The time to market. We live in a very rapidly changing industry, so it's going to foster agile and dynamic teams, just the way things are structured. And then collaboration, crowdsourcing, right? If you're working with the same people day in, day out, you're probably all going to think the same. So this will provide you a venue to overcome that groupthink. And then engagement and acknowledgement, really getting to your employees that might not have an opportunity to participate in some of these programs that we offer. And then at the end of the day, really, we are providing a product or a service or a solution, right, to our actual customers, right? Our consumers, our small businesses, etc. So this will provide you a better way to, with that collective knowledge, really attain this. And then last thing, right? Fail fast, fail early. We have all these, ways to execute. So you can share learnings, you could learn from others, what worked, what didn't, because it's a centralized repository of all the work that's been done. And then lastly, I'm going to end on this note here. So growth, right? This is really to fuel our purpose, which is we invest our hearts and minds to power human potential. So we could provide employees a wide range of tools to accomplish a task, right? We should teach them the right skills to get their jobs done, but really where everything starts, and innovation, to me, is really about change management. And you must ensure that people are aligned to our purpose. So really understanding your culture is going to help you attain that. And I'm going to end there. But before I do want to give a shout out to a few folks here. So from US Bank, I'd love to thank Stephanie, Nikki, Toby, Kevin back there for being such great advocates for the program. And then from Bright Idea side, Brian Benson, he was our consultant. He showed me the ropes, so thank you. As well as our account managers, Michelle and Arella, and the support team, who are awesome. Like, I kid you not.
Absolutely.
And I thank you guys for the opportunity to present here. I hope you guys learned something and can really grow, or everyone can grow their, innovation community like we do.
All right. Thanks, Russ. Thanks, Stephanie. Great presentation, and congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
We get a little bit more insight into what was going on behind the scenes with the timeline. So I'm going to ask my usual boring questions that usually have interesting answers, which is, Stephanie, you talked about the program's been around for 10 years. You've been there for 5 years, and you said you were in kind of design before that. What was that tipping point moment where somebody either grabbed you or you raised your hand to kind of say, I want to be part of this team of 3 inside of payments? And
Yeah, it was probably at the point where that group started to mature and
Okay.
they needed some help sort of expanding what they were doing, but then also needing help from like outside agencies and partners either to create the app or the website or whatever it was that they needed the product. But they didn't really have anyone with a design background.
Okay.
And then they are also beginning to find that things started to sort of feel and look the same too. So from that design thinking methodology, they sort of needed a methodology. When you're 3 people and you've got duct tape, it's kind of, you could do one thing, right? But as you roll things out and you expand, you kind of have to get some maturity there. So I came in and then I brought some people with me too to kind of help with the communications and, the information architecture, some of that design material stuff that goes with it.
And from the team when you joined it, was it doing all this sort of cultural outreach stuff as well as the incubator things? Or what were the activities of the team at the time?
They were really, I say it's a back room, it kind of was. Like, they just really focused on the problems that they could solve and the opportunities they solve. We have a lot of co-brand relationships in our card products, so they were focused on those areas. So really how people got any information around what they were doing is when there was a press release around one of the pilots.
Got it.
As far as other information, they didn't even really have innovation in their titles. I think they had new product development at that time, and then about the time that we expanded to that 8 is when innovation came in as a title, and that's also when we realized it had to be a full-time job. You couldn't just do this and run a product.
Got it. And then within the payments, does your team tree up to like CTO or head of customer experience, or how do you guys?
Yeah, I think because of the legacy and the strength that we've had in the payments organization, we still are with the vice chair of payments.
Okay.
But I sometimes feel bad for my boss, who's the chief innovation officer, because he really has every vice chair as his boss, right? Because they're all trying to figure out where their roles in the innovation story.
Yep.
But I think that ability to sort of provide some shielding when you're out there breaking things and people are worried about the fact that you're breaking things, having a leader that's used to, well, they just do that all the time. That's okay, we got it, right? We really haven't wanted to shift that at this point because it works.
And VP of Payments is basically the general manager of the payments.
Yeah, he's our vice chair, so he runs all the division within payments. Yep.
Got it. And then Russ, I had a background question for you. So we heard Stephanie's had a design background, but where'd you come from?
So I have a pretty, I guess, I don't know, my background is pretty much all over the place. So I'm only 25, so I'm pretty much fresh out of school.
Okay.
Starting my
Pretty
career
mature
here.
for 25.
So undergrad, I did, so I'd like to tell people, I have a degree in philosophy and religious studies, actually, and my backup was mechanical engineering, right?
So you're a dummy, huh?
But then after that, I realized, I didn't want to work in mechanical engineering space because I was a thinker. I wanted to be a little more strategic, so I kind of did my own thing for about 2 years in the startup consulting space for my own company. Ended up dissolving it, and I actually went back and got my master's at Carnegie Mellon. For the program is called Integrated Innovation for Product and Services. So it combined engineering, business, and design using business model canvas, human-centered design to develop solutions for customers.
Awesome stuff. So how do you guys think about like what the boss needs to see? I mean, you have some metrics here. Do they want you to add new programs? Do they want you to perform better at the existing things you're doing? What's that conversation like with leadership?
Well, as Russ mentioned, we do have lots of boards, senior leader boards within the bank that we kind of report to and show different portfolios to. So they vary. One may be more revenue, one may be more new ideas. It just kind of depends. So that's the good news, the bad news, right? The good news is they are kind of flexible to the organization. The bad news is it's hard for us to standardize then, right? Yep. From our management, we focus a lot on areas of focus. So we might pick IoT, we might pick blockchain, something like that. And then we have numbers within there that we have to meet around what we're either going to explore, test and learn, or go out and pilot. So kind of at this point in time varies. Now, as the organization is getting more mature, programs that we're doing too, we're trying to figure out how we put some measures against there because we'd like to be able to really have some better cultural measurements and like the impact of all these programs into the organization aside from just the external view of what happens for our customers when we release something new.
Yep. Russ, you talked in one of our prep calls about a digital access point and how that kind of allows you to have a scaled up impact. So can you talk more about that and share kind of your point of view on it?
Yeah, so again, it really goes back to bringing everybody in on board. It's that empathy. It's you have pockets of knowledge. Everybody has some sort of value to provide, right? No matter how small, how critical, how out there. We encourage all that. We encourage people to submit those crazy ideas because it might spur a chain of thought in somebody else that might actually be the solution, right? So that's really the whole purpose, to get that knowledge sharing, because if you don't, everyone has a different process within the bank, especially in corporate, because it's so large. So I think the other thing too is really learning from others. Maybe somebody already did something that you're trying to do, instead of trying to hunt that down and going to like 20 different people to figure it out, right? You can literally just go onto the platform and figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, I talk to my dad sometimes about what we do, and he's like, sometimes just asking the question is get you halfway there, right? And just getting people to stop and say, why do we do it this way? And if the only answer is that's the way we've always done it, that's not always a good enough answer. So we should keep thinking. Jumping back to hackathons, it sounds like you've got a pretty developed external program. Are there internal hackathons as well, and are you balancing both of those?
Yeah, we're balancing both of those. The external, in comparison, we've only done 2 of those now. Well, actually 3 this summer. We did it with some college students too. But I would say the majority of those have been internal. And we really try to go to a location where the developers are co-located so we can get them working together. But we now, of course, just like everyone, have footprint all over. So, we've done virtual hackathons. We've done things where half the team's virtual, half the team's in person. And then we've started to bring in partners, too, where we might partner with Microsoft or IBM. We did the TJ bots. Has anyone seen the TJ bots from IBM yet? You're going to want one. And you're going to want to go build one with your family or your team. It's a great way. It's
What is it? Can you?
TJ Bot. So it's really like your own Alexa, but it's a little robot that you can program,
Okay.
right? And so we did it with our internal developers, the innovation team, and then some college students. And they had to come up with solutions to help college students save money. And so the bot would do everything from like telling you when your roommate took your beer or your soda.
Yeah, I wish I had that
To,
in my day.
turning a red light on its head when you were, in the red for spending money so that you could kind of curb your expenses.
Okay.
But it's device and, that voice interaction and how to program that and how to think through that experience is new. So a nice way to get that going and that conversation started was to introduce play, right? We did it in a maker center. There were prizes, but a lot of it was, did you decorate your bot and did it have a wig or a mustache, right? So we added in those elements.
I'm curious how you got to, staying with you, Stephanie, that whole co-creation thing and how sort of formalized is that? I know that's sort of on the leading edge for what a lot of people are doing. Is that just sort of loosey-goosey, a couple opportunities came up and or like, you're trying to foster that type of behavior, or are you saying, no, we want to do 6 co-creation sessions or 18 or however many?
Well, we do have a target like that
Okay.
because we set aside budget for it, but we used to be very planned, like try to do one every quarter, and we found that it was a little bit false.
Okay.
Like the business would show up like, okay, it's our turn, and they weren't really there to solve a problem. We would have problems, but they weren't exactly passionate. So now we know we have a number that we want to hit, and we just work with the business lines and where it fits depending on what they're trying to work on, then we offer those sessions as one of the things we can do with them. So this year we spent a lot of time with college students, and we did something for one of our student union products, and we had sessions in Minnesota as well as out here with college students and product. And then we did something where we also worked with elderly because we're trying to work on some financial fraud things. And so we had elderly participate in some of our designing as well as their caretakers. So
Wow.
that was kind of an interesting mix.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's amazing. Anytime you're in one of those design thinking sessions, you're like guaranteed to get like a head slapping moment.
Yes,
Like, oh,
yeah.
they can't punch the numbers. The numbers are too small or
Right,
something
yeah,
like
the
that.
things we miss. Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty crazy. Russ, what I guess either of you, you mentioned briefly about compliance and regulation and legal and whatnot. Any advice you have for people who, you guys seem to have some air cover, you seem to be able to get stuff done despite maybe the organization's best efforts to block you, but any advice for people who just feel like they're ready to throw up their hands and they
So I'll say one thing, and then I'm going to defer to Steph. So I will say bringing them in early as you can.
Yeah, to that point, we actually brought them in to help us design a process. We call it Exodus. And it's a shortened process for when we have a new partner, because we spend a lot of time now with fintechs and other partners. And when we have somebody new that we want to bring in just to explore or try a pilot, they do have a different process that we work through with our compliance people. And, there's levers in there, so checks and balances that go through it, and it always has a certain duration of time. I think where we're starting to learn is, to his point about bringing them in early, is that it's got to be a fluid conversation. Like, it's always changing, it's always different, and we almost need them to just sit with us all the time, because even if we're running fast and they know that we're running fast with it, we're going to go impact a business line, and they have their own compliance in many ways, right, and they're legal. So even though we might have some people on board, we'll sometimes hit a roadblock there. So I feel like we need to really drive innovation into them. Mostly it's by being pretty tenacious. They know that if, I'm waiting on approval and I've got to get something, I'll call them every day, 5 times a day. I'll send them emails. I'll send them packages. I'll do whatever it
Send them flowers.
takes. Right. Yeah, well, usually it's candy. I try to be nice. But, it's just that constant trying to keep it at the top and really helping them understand the urgency. No, I'm not rolling this out to our 21 million customers. I'm rolling this out to like 40 in this area for this one time only. And that usually helps sets it, but I think as they look at their work, it's kind of all the same and they need to apply the same lens, and that's where we have to work on it and really help them see where we are the same and where we're different.
So Russ, I got a tough one for you, but I think you're up for it. A big trend out there in the world today is obviously the generational shifts. And I don't know if you consider yourself a millennial, but you said you were 25, so I'm going to put you in a different generation from me. But I am a firm believer that sometimes the youngest people in the room have the best ideas, and the best ideas can come from anywhere. So what's your ideal scenario of where all this could go, this digital access point, this program? Coach us as the old fogies who might have a little more influence and a little more power, but maybe not as fresh and ripe new ideas.
So the term I always like to use, and I attribute to a lot of how I got to where I am today, is the term isolated but insulated. So I think growing up, even till today, right, I have the operating freedom to take those risks and kind of do what I want. That is validated and justified, right? But insulated because I have those advocates, those mentors, those sponsors, right nearby. If I ever did need anything, I could fall back to, right?
So you like the idea of some degree of autonomy, but someone's got to create that kind of pocket for you to operate in.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for an awesome presentation. Congratulations on your award, and looking forward to what you guys do next year.
Yeah,
So thank you.
you.